John watched until the dust of Ayana's horse settled into the earth, long after she had vanished into the rolling hills. He reminded himself she was not truly gone, just on a path she needed to walk. Still, the absence hit him harder than he expected. For months, his days had been filled with protecting her, teaching her, learning from her. Now the silence returned, heavy and hollow in a way he could no longer ignore. The ranch felt too quiet without her footsteps, without the soft humming she carried like a lifeline. John tried to bury himself in chores, mending fences, cleaning the barn, oiling tack. But he found himself pausing, glancing at the trail, half hoping she might be riding back already with a bright smile and a wave. Nights were the hardest. The house creaked and sighed, just as it had before she arrived. But now, every sound reminded him of laughter that once filled his kitchen, of gentle songs that reached the stars. He had grown used to her presence, to the life she brought with her. Now the echo of memories lingered like ghosts in the corners of Clara's old room. He sat on the porch one evening, staring at the western horizon. The same sun dipped behind the mountains, the same stars brightened the sky, yet everything felt different. It was then he realized helping Ayana wasn't simply an act of compassion. It had given him purpose again, a reason to believe that the world still held goodness. Losing Clara had carved a hollow inside him, but Ayana had unknowingly filled it with hope. Meanwhile, beyond the ranch and familiar fences, Ayana's journey home was not as simple as reaching a place. It was about returning as someone changed, by suffering and kindness alike. When she arrived at her community, tears embraced her from every direction. Mothers cried with relief. Children stared in awe. Elders laid hands upon her cheeks, whispering words that stitched the remaining cracks in her shaken soul. Yet, as much as the reunion brought joy, Ayana felt a pull toward the ranch, a pull shaped like gratitude, loyalty, and something tender she could not quite name. She told stories to her people about the widowed rancher who risked everything to save her life. She told them how he had kept her safe when the world tried to break her, how he had chosen her over tradition. As seasons shifted, Ayana healed not only in body, but in spirit. She spent hours learning sacred teachings from her elders, understanding the weight of resilience, the gift of survival. She helped gather food, weave blankets, and ride through open land with children who looked up to her like a hero returned from battle. But no matter how full her days became, nights always stirred with memories of John's kind eyes, the warm light of Clara's room, the steady comfort of the ranch that had become a second home. John, too, found that life could not return to its old rhythm. He began sitting beside the rose bush more often, running his hands gently along petals that Ayana had coaxed back into bloom. They stood taller now, more vibrant, as though nourished by her renewal. Sometimes he caught himself speaking aloud to the roses, telling them how much he missed her presence. He also stood taller himself. The neighbors who once judged him now treated him as a man of principle. A few friendly ranchers began stopping by men who had stayed silent during the conflict but now wished to show respect. They helped mend fences and repair the barn damaged by fire. Even the sheriff checked in from time to time, not with warnings or paperwork, but with company and admiration. For the first time in years, John allowed himself to dream. He imagined a future not bound by bitterness or old grudges. He imagined the land shared and respected by every person who called it home. He imagined Ayana choosing to return not because she needed saving, but because she wanted to stay. One morning, while fixing a broken hinge on the barn door, John spotted a figure emerging from the distant trail. His heart stumbled inside his chest. It was a familiar shape, small but strong, riding with a sense of certainty. Ayana, but she wasn't alone. A group followed behind her, elders, children, and a few men from her community. John's breath caught as she stopped her horse in front of him, her eyes bright with joy he had never seen so clearly. "I told you," she said through a wide smile, "I would come back." John stepped forward, unable to hide his own emotions. "I never doubted you." His voice cracked slightly and she noticed. She dismounted quickly, bridging the space between them. The elders approached next. One of the oldest, his hair white as snow and his presence commanding, stepped forward. He bowed his head lightly to John. "You protected our daughter when the world turned cruel," the elder said. "You gave her back to us. For that, our door is open to you always." John wasn't sure what to say. Gratitude swelled so sharp it almost hurt. The elder placed something into John's hand, a beaded talisman woven in vibrant colors. "This is a symbol of peace," he explained. "You have earned it." Ayana watched John, pride shining in her eyes. He looked back at her, weighed down by awe at how much she had grown. She stood like someone who could bend storm winds and still remain unbroken. They spent that day together, people from both worlds eating and laughing near the barn where flames once threatened everything. Barriers that had stood for generations fell quietly. One story at a time. As twilight arrived, children circled around Ayana, eager for one of her songs. She began to sing soft at first, then strong as courage itself. Voices from her tribe joined in. John listened, the melody wrapping around him like something sacred. He realized then that he had not just freed a girl from a rope. He had freed himself from a legacy of fear and prejudice. He had chosen the harder path, the one that cost him comfort, but gave him back his humanity. Later, when the sky turned deep blue and stars glittered overhead, Ayana walked beside him toward Clara's rose garden. The petals glowed faintly in the moonlight. "She would have liked you," John said, smiling gently. Ayana grazed one rose with her fingertips. "She has watched over you, and over me too. I feel her here." They stood close, the air warm with unspoken understanding. Ayana turned to him, her voice soft yet sure. "Home is not only where you are born," she said. "It is where someone decides your life matters." John felt the truth of her words settle deep inside him. He nodded, eyes shining. "You saved." "Me too," he said quietly. Ayana took his hand, no longer trembling, but steady and strong. Their story wasn't built on blood ties or shared traditions, but on the choice to care when others turned away. On the belief that compassion could write a new future from the ashes of old hatred. The night stretched on, peaceful and full of promise. Ayana looked toward the hills, then back to John. "I'm home," she whispered. And this time John didn't feel the cold of loneliness. He felt the warmth of belonging, something he thought he had lost forever, because sometimes the greatest act of courage is to untie the past and allow love to take its place.